Hi, this is Nigel Graham. I am here today with artist Jan-Willem Boer, a Dutch-American artist, talking about his new collection, Driving at Night. Thank you for being here today.
Hi Nigel.
To start off, I'd like to discuss how you got where you are today. So, when did you start painting?
I started painting when I was 4 years old. I know that because I still have a painting from that time. I was 5. It was my first plein air painting. I painted Rotterdam Harbour. My oldest sister kept that painting and it's hanging in my kitchen. I hope it's not my best piece, but yeah, that's when I started painting. After that, I kept painting, doodling, and ended up going to art school when I was still pretty young. I think I was 15 or 16 when I went to art school, to the Rietveld Academy. After that, I became an illustrator at a popular scientific magazine in Haarlem called Kijk. I did all kinds of different illustrations, used all kinds of different media, worked for different ad agencies, a game company. I made illustrations for different games. I did covers, advertising, a lot of technical drawings. And after that, after I moved to the US, I started working for a studio in Minneapolis. I think after 5 years I started my own studio, ended up represented by my wife, started painting with oil and acrylic, and from one came the other. Had different shows, the show in Amsterdam, Minneapolis, Virginia, etc. That's how it went.
It sounds like a very long journey. Who has most influenced your work?
If you go to art school in Amsterdam, of course you're confronted with the old Dutch masters, Rembrandt and Van Gogh. They really attracted me, especially their use of color, more Van Gogh than Rembrandt, and Rembrandt the use of light, the contrast in their paintings. But at the same time, when I went to art school, I met a friend of my oldest brother, Mon Walters, and I actually rented a room from him in Amsterdam. And he was a reasonably well-known artist in Amsterdam, and we became friends, and of course he influenced me. Kind of the same thing happened with Glenn Thomas. And Glenn was, or is, an American artist. He went to art school, I think, in Philadelphia, and after that moved to Amsterdam, and we became friends, and his style influenced me a lot. It was a more graphic, op art style, but I even now I still see elements of that back in my own work.
What do you try to accomplish with your paintings?
Good question. But before I answer that question, Hopper has been my favorite painter for a long time because of the stillness in his paintings. The light seems to pour in through windows. The contrast between light and dark. His color use again attracted me enormously. And now coming back to the question, what I'm trying to accomplish. You know, I think for about 80% you paint for yourself, and 20% you paint for your audience, or for the viewer. So what you try to accomplish is 80% is to find some kind of meaning in life, and if art is a language, and I see it as a language, you try to talk to someone else and to yourself and to your surroundings. So I paint with the goal of being understood as a person, and I hope that people can see that, or I like to understand my surroundings and understand people based upon how they react upon my paintings.
You have an extensive background in technical illustration. Your paintings feel much more like a mix between realism and abstract art. What is the thought process there?
I have a tendency to paint what I see instead of to paint what I feel, and because I recognize that in myself, I slowly make my paintings flow over from very precise, almost technical art to abstract art, where the feelings show up more, or the colors speak more to the viewer than the actual thing that you are painting. Sometimes I paint a painting in acrylic. I paint it very, very exact, and then I paint over it with rougher brush strokes in oil, just to create the effect that I want to see in my paintings.
What do you try to accomplish with your paintings?
Well, I see painting as a language. I try to express myself. I try to talk through other people through my work. I try to talk to myself through my work. I try to talk to God through my work. I also try to disappear into my work. It's almost a fight with reality, and trying to find the meaning of life through my work.
And I see a lot of realistic aspects in your work, especially from your commercial illustrator days. But then I see a lot of abstract portions too. What is the thought process between this dichotomy?
Now, I often start a painting very precise in acrylic with lots of detail and very realistic, almost like one would approach an illustration or a technical drawing. I try to give myself as much information as possible before I start to put feeling and emotion in my painting. So then I paint over the acrylic painting, and I use oil to make a more visible stroke, to use different colors to simplify what I'm painting, to bring it more down to the essential parts, to put feeling and emotion in my painting. So that's why there is a flow from realism to almost abstract in my paintings. And I think the longer I paint, the more abstract they become without me wanting to create abstract paintings.
And how did you arrive on your driving at night theme?
I would say about 7 years ago, I became intrigued with the concept of driving at night. I always used to paint a lot of driving scenes because as an immigrant, when you come to the US, you are confronted with the vastness of this country through driving. The size of the trucks, the size of the highways, the size of the overpasses, the country itself. And so from my outside paintings, I ended up painting driving scenes at night, and I noticed that they had more feeling, that they had more what I was trying to express in my paintings was more visible, and at the same time it was very simple. It was light and dark, it was black and now and then a red light or a bright light coming at you. It was a traffic light, it was a green light, just simple in a dark environment. And it almost became like a meditation to paint something like that.
As a final question, what do you want your audience to take away from your Driving at Night collection?
First of all, I want them to feel the same things that I feel. I think that's a very important aspect. And those things are almost, I almost would say life is beautiful. The Roberto Benigni movie, I think it's about 20 years old, describes what my paintings are all about. It's the contrast between the ugliness of life and the beauty of its surroundings. The hustle and bustle, simplified, very focused on just a few flashes of light, darkness, but then the reality flies by left and right. You really don't see what's going on anymore. It just simplified to light forms, and I want my viewer to experience the same thing as I do. That's about it.
Thank you very much for your time today, Jan-Willem. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.